to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I am Blake Harrison and joining me as ever is Stuart Whiffen. How's it going?
I'm all right. You okay?
I'm all right.
Oh,
all right.
mate.
And it's well, look, we're here to talk about UFC 298.
I mean,
really
we're
good
huffing
card.
and puffing. It was a good card,
It was a
but
great
obviously
card.
the main event wasn't a nice watch, was it? As Volk fans,
It was, yeah. I mean, I think we'll get onto it. I think it was brilliant. We could be looking at the start of a new era. I really do like Topuria, but yeah, as people that have, we've interviewed Volk a couple of times. We are big Volk fans. Yeah, it was a sad watch.
Did you see that we shared a little post about him last week, and we got a little inbox from him as well, saying, "Nice one, lads."
Oh, he's such a nice guy. It does, but look. It happens to. We've gone straight in, but it happens to all of us. That
I know. Look, let's save this. Let's save this because we'll kick things off. But before we do anything, we should mention that we've got a sponsor.
We've got a sponsor.
Ferocious Fightwear. I don't know if you can catch this on the big wide camera there, but are these called rash guards?
Rash guards, mate. You can tell Mr. Stand-em Up's never done any rolling. Jesus.
So Ferocious Fightwear are an independent company that reached out to us. They're actually a local business to the studio as well, which is fantastic. So the team come down and we met them, and they've given us some stuff to show off. So there's the rash guard, there's shorts, there's wraps, there's gum shields. And so, yeah, when he kind of sort of told us how he'd set it up, and he trains, and he's just got a really good idea and wanted to get involved in the industry, purely built on love of MMA. So after that kind of conversation, it was like, look, this is exactly what we're looking for to kind of align with us, because again, this is a new show. We're trying to kind of get it out there. So to have somebody kind of reach out and say, look, I'd love to support you. So we're throwing that back their way and throwing it out to you. Go and check out ferociousfightwear.com. Go and get your rash guards, your wraps, your gum shields, your shorts, and just have a look at the website. They'll be tagged in all of our social posts, so give them a follow as well and support them.
Thank you very much for Ferocious Fightwear. And now let's get on to... The thing is, it was a good fight. It was an interesting fight.
This is Volk Topuria, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, we find it very difficult. Yeah, we don't think of ourselves as journalists and stuff like that. We are just people that do this show, and for some reason, some people are listening and watching.
No, but it's called the MMA Fan Show. We're fans.
We're fans.
But, so that means that we're not journalists. We can get emotionally involved with fighters.
Yeah, we are. We're emotionally attached to certain fighters, particularly ones that we interview, because they've given up their time to chat with us. And particularly even before we got into the studio, like, we were just two idiots on Zoom, like trying to, and you've got the champion of the world. Volk was our first ever champ, I believe, that came on the show. Yeah. And yeah, and so I just always want to see, but not only that, but look at the funny skit he did where he was the old man. You had people in the crowd dressed as old man Volk. He fell asleep at the press conference. Paulo Costa's waking him up. Like, this is a guy that's everything right about the sport. He's an elite level athlete. He has dominated the featherweight division for years now.
Cleaned it out.
I don't know about cleaned it out, just because there was like the Arnold Allens and obviously then Topuria's, but the thing is, if you keep sticking around, unless you do a Khabib or a GSP, if you keep sticking around, you'll eventually get got.
Yeah, of course.
That is just what it is. You take out people that were the people you looked up to, then you take out the people that are like your generation of fighter, then you have to start taking out the younger generation that come through, and that's when you usually get got. And that's what he got. But the thing is, the fight itself, Volk looked decent.
Took that first round.
Yeah, I mean, considering the last fight, he looked gun shy and was knocked out within just.
Come on, he took that fight. It's such short notice, didn't he?
He looked fit. He looked at a good training camp. And the first round, he won on every judge's scorecards. He won round one. And in round two, I actually felt like he was pulling away a little bit more in terms of his landing the strikes and not getting hit and all that stuff. And he was doing really well just until Topuria went fuck this, I'm just going to land some bombs now. And he did. And that was what we were worried about.
It felt like they were still... The threat of that was real in the first round. Yeah. And Vagos Movement, phenomenal. And I think post-fight, Topuria said his speed, he didn't bank on that. He said he was so fast. And he was doing them big sort of circular motions. And when he was moving back, he was moving back at an angle to try and sort of cut off getting steamrolled. But it just felt... And there was times when his hands were low, but Topuria's hands were low as well. I think it's just their fight style, you know, as the fight gets moving. But you just don't... It feels at the moment that... And I'm not saying Volk is anything other than elite level at the moment, but you've got someone in Topuria that is so well-rounded and he's young and so hungry. And the confidence, I thought that the moment was going to maybe get to him a little bit, because this is a big step up for him. He looked so calm. The walkout, when he was standing in the octagon before they got going, I was thinking to myself, he looks ready. He looks so calm and so collected. Obviously, Volk's, you know, he's been there, done it. And
given what just happened, that he got knocked out, and the whole narrative was old man Volk, which he lent into in the best way. And then on top of that, it was, which I think maybe is still a factor, and I'd like to ask you about, is he was knocked out horrifically for the first time in his career 4 months ago. Yeah. And he came back against a guy with power. Let's be honest. Everyone, you were mentioning confidence, speed, athleticism. Volk matched him for all those things. The thing that was the discerning factor in the fight was the power. Topuria mentioned in pre-fight that he had to worry a bit more in the Josh Emmett fight. He couldn't just go forward because Josh Emmett has got that power. He said he knows Volk doesn't have that power, so he will just press forward. And he did what he said he was going to do. He was finding it hard to land on Volk, but as soon as he was able to somehow push him up against the cage a bit, he just let his hands go, and he knew that was going to do the work. Now, if Volk isn't knocked out 4 months ago, does this happen? Maybe it still does. But maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Do you think, looking at this now, hindsight's 2020, all that stuff, did Volk come back too quick?
No, I don't think so. I think, you know, we've mentioned it before. We've referenced fighters that have said that once they've had that first knockout, their fight style kind of changes a little bit because they know that it's a possibility that this can happen. Up until then, you feel quite invincible, I guess, and you probably think you can take a shot well. And I'm not saying that Volk can't, but you're not taking a shot from, I don't know, a Ortega. You're taking a shot from Ilia Topuria. I mean, but Makhachev's not known for his striking like at that level. Like you don't think Islam Makhachev's got like one punch knockout. That's not your worry when you're going into a fight with Makhachev, is it? His wrestling's phenomenal. Yeah. I think he just felt everything was right. He looked great, like you say, won that first round. But I think you just can't sleep on power like that. And if you look at who, so let's have a look at Volk's previous opponents, right? So Max, I wouldn't say Max has got the biggest knockout shots in the world. He'll just destroy you.
He's a volume guy, yeah.
Yair, like
he can knock you out, but usually in an unorthodox way.
Yeah, Ortega, he's not really a big knockout guy. So maybe this is the first person in that sort of top 10 that's got that level of power in the striking. I'm trying to think, is there anyone else?
Korean Zombie?
Maybe.
But again, I don't think of it. He's not got that one-shot knockout power.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
And I think you've just got that young fighter that's so confident, that's just been getting rid of people and beating people at their own game as well. You know, if it goes to the ground, he's still looking incredible. You know, his wrestling pedigree is fantastic. Even in that first round, as good as Volk was looking, I was just thinking that right hand's coming, and it just almost felt like when, and when it did, it was all she wrote, and it was horrible to see. But
If you're watching on YouTube, this picture, I think there must be something going on with it. It looks like such a big weight discrepancy between them. I don't think that there necessarily actually was. There's only 1 inch height difference. They obviously weighed in the same. I think it was 155.
Topuria had a bigger reach, didn't he? I think.
No, Volk had a bigger reach, I think.
Did
he? Yeah. I think Volk's got an unusually large reach for a guy of his size. I think Volk had the bigger reach.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he did. But it's just that Topuria just looks massive and athletic and strong, yeah, just strong. That power is there, and it's just that shot there that you've got up on the big screen of just, yeah, that's that shot landing, isn't it, before Volk drops. Yeah, it is. It's all right. I mean, I want to talk about Volk a little bit more, and talk about what's next for Volk. But I think before we do, I think we have to talk a little bit more about Topuria, because I think we might be seeing the start of something massive here. We might be seeing, he's gone into this. And I said to you in last week's episode, I'm getting Conor, Aldo, O'Malley, Sterling vibes. And it worked. It happened for him. All the belief, like he looks shocked here in the picture, but it's like all the belief was there. It's that he didn't go into the cage believing he was going to win this fight. He came into this fight knowing he was going to win this fight. And even to the point where, did you see the Topuria family all getting in the cage? And he's got that gimmick with the rose. And if you saw the family, they were all dressed up in black, like they were going to Volk's funeral. That's how it came across. And it's like he's got this gimmick with the rose, and it was almost like a mafia family going at a funeral. And I'm kind of into the gimmick of it.
Yeah.
I think it's actually really, I don't know, I kind of like it. It seems cinematic in that all of the family are in there in black, and he's got the rose, and I just think there's something kind of special about it. And I think to do that as a young fighter, he's only 27 years old. And I think we might be seeing, I mean, this featherweight is a stacked division, but there's a high possibility we see this man rule this division for a long, long time now.
So, look, post-fight conference, Volk, and I totally expected him to do that. He wants the rematch. Mm-hmm. He feels like he deserves the rematch, and I see no reason why he wouldn't get one. Undefeated of that weight for as a champ for a long time. There's rumours of UFC Spain now.
Yeah, Dana's really into it.
But Dana didn't seem super into a rematch.
Neither did Topuria.
And nor did Topuria. Now, Topuria said that, he wants to give him a rematch because he's such a nice guy.
Yep.
But then he also said, look, I want to clear out that division. And I do think there's some very exciting fights after what we've just seen for Ilia Topuria. Do I want a rematch? I think, in the ideal world, Topuria fights someone else first. Mm-hmm. Volk takes a rest. Mm-hmm. Because if they're going to turn around a card in 5-6 months in Spain, he's had another horrible knockout.
Yep.
His go-to mindset as an athlete, Volk, is like, run it back. I've seen where I've gone wrong. Like, he's not thinking completely. There's not a lot of pure clarity at that point. He's just been knocked out. He's now doing a press conference, the furore of everything. I think he needs some time at home with the family, explaining to his daughter that if it's not Islam Makhachev coming through his window now, it could be Ilia Topuria as well, which was one of the greatest videos as well.
Did you see Makhachev sent his daughter some presents as well?
So lovely.
So sweet. That's what I want to see for this sport.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't want the Strickland stuff. I don't want the Colby stuff.
Yeah.
Give me Volkanovski and Makhachev.
Respect.
Volk doing jokes and taking the mick out of himself and all that stuff. Love it. It's so brilliant. And then Makhachev being like, oh, mate, I feel a little bit sorry for you. Let me send some gifts to your kids.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want for this sport.
Yeah.
I don't want all the, other shit that we get.
Look, whatever happens, Alexander Volkanovski's if not very possibly the greatest featherweight of all time.
It's between him and Aldo, I think. Yeah.
That would have been nice.
We had it. He beat him.
Oh, fucking hell.
But it wasn't prime Aldo.
What am I talking about?
It wasn't prime Aldo. But I think Volkanovski's a better fighter than Aldo, but did he achieve as much in terms of the longevity, the title defences, all that stuff, including the WEC days and all that stuff? That's very much up for debate. But I agree with you on what's next for Volk. I think he deserves an immediate rematch, but I would rather... I would like to see Topuria fight someone else, whether that be in Spain or not, in the summer.
Who?
Well, we'll get to that. And then I'd like to see Volk fight Topuria in it. Like, Volk's next fight should be for the belt, whoever has it, because he's earned that. But I would like to see him take more time off, and he could come back at the end of the year, November, December. Like, take that time, take 10 months, come back in December and fight either Topuria or whoever else Topuria might have fought in that time if he lost to them. And that frees up Topuria to have another fight in the summer. Now, in terms of big business for Topuria, I think Volk's the biggest fight in the division. Max, maybe, but I think Volk probably more so. Other than that, it's whether O'Malley, and I hate this, but if O'Malley beats Vera and calls out Ilia, he's already described Ilia as his Eddie Alvarez. I think that fight would make a huge amount of money. I don't like it. I don't want it. I want O'Malley to stay in his division, and we'll get onto that because of Merab. And I want Topuria to stay in his division. There's enough going on there. I don't need champ fights at this stage. But in terms of business, the UFC would probably do way better to do O'Malley Topuria than, say, Evloev or Rodriguez or Ortega or whoever. But in terms of who Topuria could fight, if it's not Volk, I think it probably will be, but that worries me because we actually predicted this on this show either prior to the second Islam fight or just after the second Islam fight. We predicted a scenario which we hated, but we said he gets knocked out by Islam because he's taking his fight on short notice. Then he fights Topuria too quick and he gets knocked out, which has come to fruition. And then he rematches him too quick and he gets knocked out again. And Volk is staring down the barrel of 3 knockout losses in the space of a year or less.
We shouted that, didn't we?
We shouted that out. We did. I mean, I don't want to high-five it too much because it sucks. I don't like. I don't want to live in this world.
He's impressive, mate.
Yeah, I mean, we did. We said this back in like September, October, whenever it was that he fought Islam that second time. And I don't even know if we said it pre the fight actually because he was taking it on 12 days' notice. We predict these things, as Connor would say, and I really worry about that. So. And also, as we've also mentioned on this show before, the statistics in terms of former champions winning their belt back in an immediate rematch, bad. They're really bad. I think it's something like 4 out of 15 or something like that. They're not good statistics. And I think Volk could do well to just take the time, rest up, heal up, and then come back, really focus on what it was that led to this knockout and try and make sure that doesn't happen again.
I don't think he done anything wrong.
Well, he clearly did. He got pushed up against the fence. He maybe dropped his hands. Topuria said that he was doing long combinations for this fight. Volk maybe expects that next time. He was still winning the fight. Volk was winning the fight until he wasn't. But that's it. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
But
you can't run for a fight. You've got to fight. And unfortunately, he got caught. And that's in the second round. Like, if Topuria's power's still there in the third and fourth round when Volk's slowing down a little, then, you know, it almost sounds like... It felt, like I said, in the first round, I just thought, oh, no. And I always equate it to that Apollo Creed Ivan Drago, where he's moving about, and then you just think it's coming, and then the power lands. And yeah, it was horrible to see. But as much as we love Volk, and you know, we don't want anything other than the best for him, we do have to just say, look, we've got something so exciting now in that division.
Sure.
And as fans of the sport, you know, park up the emotional investment in Volk. It's so exciting to see a young fighter come through looking so dominant, so powerful, so well-rounded. It means that we have got so many exciting fights to look forward to there. Mate. And I just hope that one with Volk, if it happens, and I presume it will, doesn't happen for quite a while.
I agree, but I don't want to see Topuria on the bench. I want Topuria out there being active, because what an exciting fighter.
Yeah. And that's what I said, one more fight and then Volk, I think.
I agree. And
in the meantime, Volk can maybe fight Jose Aldo, because I've erased that from my mind.
I think that Topuria could fight Movsar Evloev.
Come on, who wants that?
Well, I do. I think it's a good fight.
Of course.
I think that
fans of MMA will love that fight. However,
Movsar's not the most exciting.
No.
And even Topuria said he's not got a single finish. He's got 8 wins. But it's very rare in MMA for a title fight you get 2 undefeated fighters going at each other.
Yeah.
I don't think that. When did that happen? That never happens in MMA.
No.
At this level, UFC level, to go, we've got 2 undefeated guys going at each other for the belt. I think that's good to market. It's a shame Evloev hasn't had finishes and stuff. Also, what maybe dampens that a little bit is I do think Arnold Allen beat Evloev. So there's that as well. But I think if it's not Evloev, then bigger business would be the winner of Ortega-Yair, especially if it's Yair, because you've got the Mexico-Spain thing and stuff as well, which might be interesting.
What if Max finishes Justin quickly? We know that's 5 rounds of chaos, but say, for instance, he comes out of there unscathed, because I called this at the beginning of the year. I think Max Holloway humiliates Ilia Topuria.
Look, I think humiliates is strong.
I'm telling you, he will absolutely box his ears off at range.
Look, maybe. I think that this has actually come at really awkward timing for Max, because I think, firstly, him versus Gaethje, I think, will be a war. I think we've heard fighters say, and maybe even Gaethje himself, fighting me is like being in a car crash. Your body is never the same after fighting Justin Gaethje. And I think he's right. What if Justin Gaethje is the first guy to break Max Holloway's unbreakable chin? And if he does that, can Max go into a fight with Topuria off the back of a loss? I'm not sure. Equally, even if he were to beat Gaethje in some kind of crazy war, Max might go, well, I'll just stay up at lightweight and fight the lightweight champion. Or he might go, no, I've done this BMF thing, now I'm going to drop down to featherweight and do that. But
he's sat at feather for so long.
I know.
Being not that guy.
I know, but the problem is again, if he's been in a war with Gaethje, and even if he wins, that could have such an effect on him that Topuria is the one to break Max Holloway's chin. I just don't know. I do want to see it. Max Holloway Topuria is a fight I really, really want to see. Had the BMF title fight for 300 not been booked, I would say give that to me now.
100%.
I want that right now. Inject it into my eyeballs. But I'm worried about how the Gaethje fight will affect the Max Holloway stuff. I'm worried. I'm not sure about how that's going to go. But certainly there's options for Topuria. We're saying potentially Yair or Ortega, and he's badmouthed both of them, and Yair has clapped back a bit, so there's a bit of beef there, which is good. Movsar's undefeated and possibly deserves a title shot. Again, caveat, I think he lost to Arnold Allen. And then there's the Volk rematch, which I don't want to see right away. And then there's Max, depending on what happens with Max and Gaethje. So there's a lot of options there for sure. And I think that, any of those could be fun. I think Topuria is a new star. And if you take him to Spain and he wins in good style in Spain against whoever, Jesus Christ, this guy's going to be a megastar, I think.
We need holiday to Spain, mate, if that
what,
happens.
mate, road trip in the camper van?
Let's do it.
Please. So, shall we move on?
Yes, Bobby Knuckles, Mr. Costa. Great fight. Really enjoyed it.
Really fun fight. Really, really fun fight. That end to the Robert Whittaker is just smashing him up for the whole of round one, and then out of nowhere, Paulo Costa goes, "I'm going to throw a spinning heel kick, mate," and it absolutely messed him up. He was on really wobbly legs. That was incredible.
Bobby Knuckles was charged up, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I know he's always banging his heart with his hand, but he walked out into that octagon that night and he looked fucking ready for it.
Yeah.
I mean, also, whatever's in that secret juice, Costa looked great. He looked, obviously he was on weight, which is great.
Yes,
and I mean, he looked so powerful as well, Costa.
He looked powerful. He looked superhuman just in his durability. And I remember this in the Marvin Vettori fight. He gets smashed around like a lot. And he just doesn't even mark up much.
That chin.
It's unbelievable.
That chin is unreal.
Yeah.
He didn't look like he was ever going to get stopped. His chin was unreal.
The only thing that stops Costa, it seems, is either Israel Adesanya or like his cardio. That's it. No one because even the Romero fight, I think he took a few big shots.
Yeah, I think both of them brought their A game, and that's why we got such a good fight. I think Bobby Knuckles really wanted to avenge that loss to Dricus. And I think Costa really wanted to sort of stamp his place on the division because he's always the big name, but he's always sort of floating about, not really in title contention. And I mean, obviously this fight's not going to help Costa, and I'm interested to know what this does because I know when we spoke about this before the fight, it's kind of, I don't think it has huge implications on title fights. I think
it could have done had Costa won.
Yeah. I mean,
he's a fun fight. I really want to see Costa DDP.
Yeah.
Like, I know that can't happen right now.
Yeah. That's two monsters, isn't it?
That's two monsters. I love it as a fight. I think it'd be great.
Yeah. So where do you think this leaves Bobby Knuckles?
Right. So it's a tricky one. I mean, it's obviously great that he won. He's in a tricky position that I think DDP's first title defence will probably be against Adesanya.
I think so.
And then Whittaker is going, well, whoever's the champ, I've got losses to. That's not ideal. It's going to be really hard to market. You're not going to market Whittaker versus Adesanya anymore. I just don't see how that happens. You can market DDP Whittaker, but it takes a bit of extra effort because he's got that loss to him and it was a dominant loss. So I think he at least needs one more. I think there are lots of options for Whittaker though, and I think he can actually have a really good time at the moment by going... I'd like to see him fight Strickland. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
I think him v Strickland, they've both lost to DDP. If Strickland wins and Izzy wins, you can do that. If you could maybe do the rematch with DDP anyway with Strickland because a lot of people found it controversial. I think I even scored it for Strickland, actually. It wasn't a robbery. Anyone saying it doesn't understand the scoring. But it was a close fight, and I actually did score it for Strickland. So you can remake that fight much quicker than you can remake Whittaker Dricus. But equally, I'd happily see Robert Whittaker fight Khamzat Chimaev. I would maybe go, I'd rather see Khamzat fight Strickland or someone else because I'd like to see Khamzat get to a title shot without maybe fighting Whittaker, because if Whittaker beats Khamzat, he's knocked off contender. It was that whole thing with like Max Holloway fighting Arnold Allen and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't want to see these guys just knock off contenders. I'd like to see those contenders maybe get the belt, and then you've got Whittaker or Holloway or whoever we're talking about can jump straight into a title shot. But the other option is maybe, I did have someone, Kamaru Usman.
Yeah.
Kamaru Usman, I don't know whether he's staying up at 185 after the Khamzat loss, which again, I scored a draw, I think.
I don't think Brendan Allen's in the mix.
No, I don't think so. If Brendan Allen's fighting Marvin Vettori in a few weeks, I think. Good fight. If Brendan Allen beats Marvin Vettori, you could do Brendan Allen Whittaker, but again, you're using Whittaker to potentially knock off a contender. So I think the Strickland fight does make a lot more sense than anything else. For those that are watching, that picture of Bobby Knuckles, he's going to need a month or so to get that face back to how it should look. I mean, he looked bashed up, didn't he? He really did. Chin on Robert Whittaker. I mean, that guy's been in so many wars. Yeah. Like this fight, the two Romero fights. Yeah. Like he's been in some really hardcore fights. And that's why fans love him, because he's never in boring fights. And
This was absolutely fantastic. Okay, so where are we at?
Ian Gary.
Yes. This wasn't the most exciting fight.
No, there was the guy in the press conference who called it listless. I thought it was a bit harsh. I thought Ian Gary fought a really good fight.
Fought a smart fight.
Yeah.
And he said as much as well. He was like, look, you start getting into the dirty boxing with Jeff Neal in range, you're going to sleep.
Yep.
And so what we saw with Ian Gary was he fought at a very good distance, picked him off with great kicks, like the body kicks and the teeps looked really solid, and there was some good elbows from Ian Gary as well.
The knees
and the knees,
were great.
God, yeah, and like the timing was great on a couple, but it just, I mean, credit to Jeff Neal because I was just waiting for one of them to land on the button, and it didn't quite come, and I think Jeff Neal was obviously struggling with the range because Ian Gary's so wiry.
He struggled with that before. He struggled with Neil Magny as well.
And I think because you look at the highlight reel, you look at Ian Gary's highlight reel, and you see the domination of Magny and the Rodriguez fight and stuff like that, and so you're expecting him to snipe someone because he's got great, he's a great counter striker and he does pick you off. But let's remember, he's relatively new in the UFC, Ian Gary. He's moved very quickly because of the press around him, which I'm sure we'll get onto. Jeff Neal's legit, and this was the biggest test of Ian Gary's career. Yep. And he looked, we also spoke, how much do you think all of this furore that's been around him has affected him? Yep. He didn't take any of that into the octagon. He looked composed, he looked comfortable, he fought a smart fight, and he got the win. As he said afterwards, I'm in there to get my hand raised, and that's what I've done. There was people saying that was a robbery. I don't know what the fuck they were watching.
I mean, it was a split decision. I actually, and people might start shouting at the phones or YouTube, whatever they're watching this on, I scored it 30-27 Gary.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I thought round one was really close. I thought round two was quite close as well, but I lent Gary in both of those, and then I thought round three was the clearest round to score, and that was definitely Ian Gary. So, yeah, I don't understand this whole it was a robbery and all that kind of stuff. I can understand a split decision, I guess, because round 1 and 2 were close, but I didn't get that at all. And the robbery thing's nonsense.
So one of the things that we mentioned briefly before we recorded, which was the first time I'd ever seen it, was when he won, and then post-fight, the camera kept cutting to Layla. Who looked like she was sort of standing in the sort of walkway to where the fighters make their way to the octagon. You don't see that very often, do you? And I thought it was interesting that the UFC are playing into the narrative of the whole, everybody's very interested in Ian Gary's private life.
Yes.
Look, it as to quote him as well, everybody's talking about him.
Yep.
He's in the octagon post-fight and everyone's booing him. And for me, I just think, do you know what? He just beat Jeff Neal. So this young lad, he's on an absolute journey to somewhere very exciting, and he done the right thing. He called out Colby Covington. What do you make of that fight?
I am really into the Colby fight I think maybe for both of them, actually. I mean, I don't understand why Ian Gary is so hated at the moment and so booed. I don't get what he's done. There was a couple of things that I didn't agree with. I didn't agree with the mugshot T-shirt thing, but whatever. Did he go a bit too hard on the Neil Magny stuff at the press conference? I mean, Neil Magny's the one that said it about his kid and all that stuff. Ian maybe over-egged the pudding a little bit, thought he was onto something to get under his skin. It worked.
I think the Magny thing, I think he got that wrong. I think maybe he didn't realise that people really like Neil Magny.
I don't think it was that. I don't think he realised what came out more recently, and I think why Ian is maybe seen in a negative light even more so recently, which is that Neil Magny was actually in a custody battle for his kids or his kid. I don't know how many he has. Stuff that was said at the press conference was used by, I'm assuming, his ex-wife or whatever in the court case to show that he's not a fit father. That wasn't necessarily in Gary's control, though, and I can't imagine that he would have thought that could happen.
He's not that guy.
I don't think he's that guy, but I think people are going, look what he did to Neil Magny. He nearly made Neil Magny lose his kids. It's like,
I don't think that.
But that's not what... I think that's what some people are... I'm not saying that's what's happening. I think that's what some people are using as their fuel to hate Ian Gary.
I think a lot of it is the fact that he's getting a lot of attention. He's a brash Irishman, and obviously there's a very big brash Irishman in MMA already, and who
is a polarising figure.
And I think that I think the stuff that so many of these forums have like jumped on of his personal life, I don't know why. I think like he's cocky, but I don't think he's that. Oh, I don't know. He said some stuff like you say that I don't necessarily agree with, but on the whole, I really like the fact that he's clearly a family man. I love the fact that he's going around lots of gyms, and he's, we see him with over in Brazil with Oliveira. Just wonderful, and I like to see it. I think he's one of the most exciting fighters at the moment in the welterweight division, and I look forward to seeing what's coming next. And if that's Colby Covington, mate, like, I'm all over it. It's
a good one for both of them, I think, because Colby Covington's hated. So if Ian Gary really does slap him around the octagon, then he could come out the hero. But equally, again, I don't understand why he's so hated. But Ian Gary is sort of hated by a lot of the MMA community for some reason. And if Colby Covington smashes Ian Gary up and takes that O off of him, then Colby Covington, to a lot of people, will kind of ingratiate himself with the fans again. And I know it sounds horrible and it doesn't make a huge amount of sense, but I think that Colby is at an all-time low in his career right now in terms of his popularity after what he did with Leon and then the performance he put in the cage. And I think if he goes into the Ian Gary fight, Ian will have to be so mentally strong and have to deal with it all, which I think actually he will be able to do. But I think Colby will be full Colby, and I think he will be given license to be full Colby, because I think actually people will enjoy him saying stuff about Ian, about his wife, and about all that kind of stuff that I won't like it, you won't like it. I think most normal people won't like it, but there'll be a huge contingent of fans out there that just love that kind of stuff and love hating on someone, and they will lap it all up. And if he then put in a good performance in the cage and beat Ian, to a lot of people, he will come out the hero.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Mirab versus Cejudo.
It was great.
Really great.
Mirab has left that sad little room that we've been talking about for a while, and he left it in style. He's waved goodbye to Ankalaev and Bilal Muhammad and just said, guys, I'm off.
Yep.
I'm poking my tongue out at Mark Zuckerberg and having a laugh.
He's put his red leather on.
I'm putting my red leather on and I'm carrying Cejudo across the octagon a la Hamzat Chimaev. It was special. And even to the point where Dana came out of the press conference and he didn't give the usual, well, Tuesday is matchmaking day, we'll see what happens. He went, no, Merab is next. That is quite a turnaround for a guy that was in that sad little room with Ankalaev and Bilal.
I think Dana did reference the fact that, he'd sat out for 3 years saying he doesn't want to fight the champ, and the UFC don't like that.
Yes, he did,
But just on the actual fight itself, I thought Henry looked all right in the first round.
I thought he looked great in the first round.
I thought the first round was really tight.
Won that. He won. I thought he won that round because didn't he sort of like drop or wobble Merab in that first round with a big shot? I thought he looked really good in that first round. I gave the first round to Henry.
I thought after that, Henry's gas tank seemed to empty out, because I think Merab fights at such a pace.
Yeah.
And it was just interesting and fun to see how much fun Merab was having in there. As you said, picking him up, chatting to Zuckerberg. That whole thing, we didn't touch on it, but the Zuckerberg thing with Volk was fun, but that weird thing where he was just standing there and everyone...
He looked awkward as hell,
it was the most awkward thing I'd ever seen, where there was, people would I think he took his jacket off and then Zuckerberg puts his hand out to take it and it just goes straight past him to the next person. I think it happens twice and it's like, oh my God. But I mean, don't get me wrong.
But he's still bobbing to the music as if like he's at a party being like, yeah, no one saw that. Style it out, guys.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, as Dana said, this guy's got everything and more, but he gets to do something that no one ever gets the chance to do. You walk out with a champ and you get to be there for that. It must be been amazing and fun for Volk to have, somebody, like that. But it just felt to me, I don't know, I just thought it was just too much attention on the fact that he was there. I'm not that interested in it. But I did think it was funny when I saw Merab sort of chatting to him and because it must be weird, mustn't it, being sort of cage side, then all of a sudden there's a fight going on and someone's chatting to you through the cage.
Yeah,
that must just be like, holy shit, what's going on here?
He was right next to, I think it was Hunter Campbell as well.
Yeah,
Zuckerberg.
it was, yeah.
And so Hunter Campbell's probably looking at it going, okay, he's performing now. He's really stepped this up. His social media game's really improved as well, Merab. He's doing really well.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, what a position to put himself in. And as you say, I think Henry might have broken his forearm or done something in the fight.
Didn't look good.
Yeah, so maybe that made him a bit compromised as well. But I think it was just Merab's pace. It was just too much for him. And in the end, that's it. I mean, we could be looking at the best bantamweight in the world in Merab Dvalishvili. And it's been a long time coming. Look at that, him picking him up and just poking his tongue out and enjoying his own. That's an Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
He's picking up there.
I didn't know that. I don't think he'd ever mentioned that. But there was word going around that Henry was going to retire. I think he did take his gloves off.
And they didn't give him any time.
And do you know what? If you speak, because Dana said, didn't he, in post-fight, he was like, "Look, this is Merab's moment. Henry's retired once,
yeah,
and like at the moment, Merab's just done this. Why are we then going to focus on Henry theoretically retiring again?"
I think that's a bit pointed.
100%.
I think if it was a Cowboy Cerrone, a Matt Brown, I don't know, a long-serving kind of
a Volk,
quote-unquote company man, a Volk maybe, they would have given him the time in that fight, no problem. But because Henry fucked them about so much when he retired previously, he was a double champ at the time, or did he? Yeah, I think he was a double champ, or maybe he'd vacated the flyweight, I can't remember. But he just beat Dominic Cruz. He could have gone on to be a long-standing either double champ or just bantamweight champ, whatever it would have been. And he really messed them about by retiring, and I think they were furious with him. And Henry thought, I'm going to get more money. And they just went, fine, see ya. You don't draw that many eyeballs, mate. Let's move on. Yeah. And they did. And I think actually, looking back on it, could that be, this is a very apt photo for what I'm about to say, could that be one of the biggest mistakes, not just of Henry Cejudo's career, but in like kind of UFC careers, just to go, I'm going to retire, not because I want to retire, but because I'm using it as a negotiation tactic to get more money. And then he sat out for 3 or 4 years and came back and like, that's it. But I think it's one of the biggest errors we have seen, because had he stayed and fought people at bantamweight for a little bit longer, he could have fought an O'Malley, a Yarn, whoever, and done really well, a Sterling. And I mean, he came back after 4 years being, 36 years old, whatever it is, and we know about age in the lower weight classes, taking on Aljamain Sterling and gave him an incredibly tough fight, lost by split decision. I think it's very possible that had he fought Aljamain Sterling 3-4 years prior, he'd have won that fight.
Yeah.
So he could have cleared out that division, and we could be talking about Henry Cejudo now as one of the greatest to ever do it. And he's still up there because he was a 2-weight champion. He's an Olympic gold medalist wrestler. He's up there. But that's a big mistake, I think, to try and get more money, to have just be a bit delusional about your power and the leverage you have over the UFC.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe we'll see him bulk up and fight Tyson Fury, and it'll all end well. Okay. Let's touch on
Hernandez Kopylov.
Yeah, I mean, fight of the night. Was it? You said it was going to be fight of the night.
I thought it was a really good fight.
Yeah, it was all right.
All right. But what are you trying to say?
It wasn't fight of the night.
Yeah, no, it wasn't fight of the night because it got a finish, which I thought, I've predicted it might get a finish early as well.
I'll tell you what, Kopylov fought that finish as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
I thought that was going to happen a bit earlier. He's tough, man.
I think they're both great. I mean, both of them on 4-fight win streaks. And it was those skill sets. It was Kopilov's going to hit you with those heavy kicks and just try and beat you up on the feet. But if Hernandez gets you down, you are in trouble. And that's what happened. I thought it was a really good fight. And I think Hernandez now needs maybe a guy in the top 10. I'd maybe like to see him get maybe Delize or someone like that.
Did you see their face-off?
Don't think so.
That was quite. I don't know if anyone else even noticed it, but as he walks up, Kopilov's kind of just standing there, just sort of like looking about, and then I don't know if it was Dana, whoever it was that was in between them, sort of went like, "Okay, right, lads, like face off," and you just see Kopylov just kind of going, "Wow, oh yeah, sorry, yeah." and he's completely forgot why he was there. He just seemed to be just sort of taking it all in. And they're like, you've got to look at the other guy now. And he was just like, oh, okay, all right, we do that then. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a good fight, and it was a fantastic finish. And yeah, I thought he wasn't asleep, was he? He did tap, didn't he?
He tapped, I think.
Yeah, because we haven't spoke about how you watched it. Did you watch it Sunday morning?
I did, yeah. I woke up and got out of bed at about just before 7 or something like that, and went downstairs and watched it. What about you?
Stayed up.
Did you really?
Well, no, I didn't stay up. I went to bed, and then the dog literally woke me up at about 2:45. So I was like, oh, God's sake. And I thought, if the dog needs a wee, there's my excuse to get up.
Oh,
so I went down, let him out in the garden and put the telly on, and then that was it. I was up till for the rest of the event, and I literally walked when I put the telly on. This fight that we're just looking at now had just finished. And so I did, after watching this Dern fight we're going to talk about, I then quickly got the laptop out and watched Oben's fight, which we'll get onto, and then watched everything else. So I was a grumpy prick Sunday.
Did you go back to bed? Or
I did for about a couple of hours, but I was still a miserable bastard.
Yeah.
Right, Lemos Dern.
That got fight of the night.
Fucking great.
Really good fight. I thought Dern was done in round 2. I thought she went down a la Rory McDonald in the Lawler fight, where she was just kind of grabbing her eye or her nose. She's unbelievably tough. She just really lacks that kind of like striking defense. Like, she'll engage in some of it. She just needs to like learn she got a really good takedown in round 1. And was it round 1 where she got a really good takedown and you were like, oh my God, she's got some real good wrestling there. Now it's the jiu-jitsu game. She's going to be all over it. And then Lemos survived. And then, that was it. I think... And I thought it could have been a 10-8, was it round 2, where Dern nearly got finished. And I thought there was a lot of refs that would have stopped that fight. But credit to her, man. That she really, really did.
Dig
deep and plough forward.
I mean, we need to speak about the weirdness of the announcement of the winner.
Oh, well, so here's the thing. So I recorded these on like TNT Sport, whatever, and my recording of it finished as they both ran away, both thinking they'd won. Yeah. So I didn't get to see Lemos, and then the next recording, the main card... Yeah. Started I don't know, as a main card would. It didn't show me, so I saw none of the Lemos stuff.
But that happened live as well.
Yeah. So you didn't see anything either?
I've not seen anything post-fight. I see
they both ran off thinking they both won.
From what I gather is because from what I gather is I think it was it her corner that then just went, no.
I haven't seen it. I have no idea. Because he said Amanda. Yeah. And Mackenzie ran off thinking she'd won. I was like, what? Yeah. Why have you done that? And then it cut off. So what do you know?
That's it. Because I saw what you saw. I mean, that's got to be brutal, hasn't it?
Why did you think... What name were you hearing? Amanda?
Mackenzie.
They don't sound the same.
Maybe she just said, yes.
Oh, no.
I mean,
poor thing.
Yeah, I mean, she got bashed up in that fight, so I'm sure that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe she weren't as on point as she could have been, but yeah. I mean, I don't think her stock's gone down there. I think people are just having the conversation that we're having, just saying, look, she comes to fight.
Really tough, comes to fight. Yeah, for sure.
All right.
I think for Lemos, I think, do you just rebook the Suarez fight?
I think so.
Yeah, just do that.
I think so.
Makes sense. Oben, let's go.
I mean, the Welsh gangster.
It was a classic Oben performance.
It was just what you get. You know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And it's never boring. He's going to get hurt. He's going to go. You're going to think, oh, fucking hell, no, don't. No. Yeah. And then he digs deep.
He digs deep.
Yeah.
Like, that Contender Series one was even worse than this. But, like, this one was like... But, I mean, Val Woodburn, what is his head made of? Because Oben Elliot's shin just bounced off his head.
Yeah.
And he was just like, and what?
Well, because
and then he clipped him with a bunch of punches. And I think Oben even said, like, I thought I'd done him. That head kick landed flush. And I thought, that's it, I've got him now.
Yeah.
And then he ran into a couple of punches. He was like, oh, shit.
But he looks like Ram Man from He-Man. He's got no neck whatsoever. like Volk, you know. And I think that must have just served him well there, having no neck. But it was great to see. And, yeah, I think... For somebody that was having their first fight on the Fight Pass prelims, there was a lot of attention on Oben Elliot.
Yeah.
And and it should be as well, because he's such a lovely guy. He's 110% heart on sleeve.
Yeah.
Like, he says what's in his, whatever's on his mind, it comes straight out his mouth, and it's always lovely. He just looked like a dog with two dicks. He was having the best time. He got his photo with Chael Sonnen. He got to meet CM Punk. He got to do the Hulk Hogan celebration. He just looked like he was having the best time. And did you see the little joke that Richard Shaw posted
about the weight cut?
Yeah, it caught me off guard initially.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But a lot of people ran with it. I think it was even in like some national press.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm not sure if it was the Express or someone else. I can't remember. But someone put out like, UFC fighters got to cut 20 pounds in a day or something like that. And they're just all giggling to themselves. I think some people were not happy about that. Probably some people in the media space.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, really? And then I was like, nah. Like, it didn't trick me for more than just a couple of seconds. And I was like, that just doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Because also you wouldn't put that out there
Yeah.
in the way that he did. But, yeah, it worked. As you say, it got him attention. People were interested. It was all a big joke.
Yeah.
Some people not happy about it, but you know Oben Elliot's name now, and so
absolutely,
that's it. And hopefully, I mean, maybe we'll reach out to him and try and get him on the show, because he's such a great guest. We've had him on twice before, and always good to see good things happen to good people, and Oben is that.
Because he was talking Manchester post-fight. If that happens, he'd love to fight in Manchester in the summer, and then he said Vegas at the end of the year if possible. Mm-hmm. But he also said, look, Manchester's great, but see what I can do in Cardiff. And we've seen that, Jack Shaw's going to be fighting soon. I mean, I don't know if that's likely to happen anytime soon. I think Oben and Jack need to, get a couple of big wins before I think they're going to go to Cardiff with the UFC. But
if Conor McGregor can't take the UFC back to Ireland, I don't really know what chance there is of Oben and Jack getting it to Wales, but you never know.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic card. I mean, blimey, 299 ain't far away, and that's looking like that's going to be just as good.
Incredible. I mean, before we finish up this, I think there was an interesting fight with Junior Taffa versus Rogerio de Lima, just because Junior Taffa stepped in for his brother on 1 day's notice and then got his leg kicked to shit by
de Lima's leg kicks. Fucking horrible, man.
That was bad. Like, I don't know how you feel if you're Justin Taffa being like, oh, I've let my little brother do this, and now he's just getting absolutely smashed to pieces. Yeah. But who knows? They got money.
I do think that was quite amusing when they said to Dana, like, so what do you make of the whole, Junior Taffa just jumping in and like, what? But he said, well, it was just one out, one in. His brother was allowed it.
Didn't have to change the poster.
No, didn't have to change the poster. Yeah, exactly. Fair play, man. Like stepping up for your brother. I love it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think expectations were low. You know, he had one day to get ready to fight. But yeah, I mean, De Lima's leg kicks, they were tree trunks smashing in, and that must have. Oh my God, I can't even imagine what that must feel like. But yeah, okay, we done?
I think we're done, yeah.
So, thanks ever so much for watching, or if you're listening and you've not yet checked out the YouTube channel, then come and have a look, because it looks swish, and you get to see, you know, our ugly mugs, but pretty faces and pretty pictures of all the fighters on the big screen behind us. Please subscribe wherever you get this show. Go check out ferociousfightwear.com, our sponsor. Other than that, we will see you next time.
Bye.